Chant japa throughout the ceremony. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Govindam Adipurusam Tamahang Bhajam. These birds, Angani Jasya Sakalendriya Vrittimanti, we have explained. Next verse is Advaita Yachyuti Anadi Ananta Rupam. There are 36 verses in this record. We have chanted only 3 verses, 3 or 4. So, the next verse is Advaita Yachyuti Anadi Ananta Rupam Adyam Purana Purusam Navajovanancha Vedeshu Dullabhaya Dullabhayat Bhakto Govindamadi Purusam Tamamaya. Krishna, he has got multi-forms. We are also Krishna's forms, Vivinnangs. There are 2 categories of forms, Krishna's. Vishnu Tattva and Jiva Tattva. Vishnu Tattva, a Krishna person, and Jiva Tattva, separated personalities. So the Jivas, they are also Krishna's forms, Vivinnangs. They are called Vivinnangs. So just imagine the living entities, innumerable forms there are. That is conditioned living entities. Whatever we see within this material world, that is only a fragment part of all the living entities. The major portion of the living entities, they are in the spiritual world. They are called Nitya Mukta, ever liberated. And we, in this material world, we are Nitya Baddha, ever conditioned. Besides that, Krishna has got Vishnu Tattva form, personal. Vishnu Tattva form means that one form is as powerful as the other form. In the Vivinnansa form, we are not as powerful as Krishna. But there are forms of Krishna who are as powerful as Krishna. Deepachirevahi dasantaram abhupit. Just like you take this candle and you light on another candle, but all these candles are of the same power. Although the original candle is there. Similarly, Krishna is the original Supreme Personality of Godhead, and there are innumerable other forms of Godhead also. But they are as good as Krishna. Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Avasishyate. The potency of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is so great that if another Godhead is expanded, both of them are of the same potency. Therefore it is Advaita, Achyuta. Achyuta means who never falls. Living entities, although they are forms of Krishna, they fall down. Just like our present position is fallen condition. We are in the matter. But the personal expansion, they never fall in the matter. Therefore, another name of God, Krishna, is Achyuta. Achyuta means never falls. Advaita Achyuta Anadi. our beginning is from God, but God has no beginning. Anadi. Advaita yacchati anadi. Ananta rupam. Although the forms are many, millions and trillions. Advaita yacchati anadi ananta rupam. Adyam purana purusham. Adyam, original. Therefore the oldest person. Krishna, God is the original person. Therefore the oldest person. Is still Navajovanancha, but still he is always youthful. Vedeshu dullabha. To search out Krishna by academic education, by mental speculation, by pursuits of different types of knowledge, is not possible. Advaita yachyati anadi ananta rupam adyam purana purusham navajovanam vedeshu dullava. You cannot find out Krishna by simply academic education. Adurlava atma bhakto. But he is available from his devotee. Atma bhakto. If you approach a devotee of Krishna, he can deliver you Krishna like anything. Here is Krishna, take. Krishna is so nice, he becomes a doll in the hands of devotee. He agrees. Just like before Mother Jasoda, he was trembling. Mother Jasoda showed him the cane. So this is Krishna's merciful pastime, that he becomes very easily available to the devotees. Otherwise it is very difficult to find out where is Krishna, how is Krishna. So our process is therefore to go through the devotees, not directly. Directly one cannot understand what Krishna. Vedeshu dullava adullava atma bhakto govindamadi purusham tamang bhaja. We worship Govinda, the original personality of Godhead. That is our business. Now it can be. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare
Let me demonstrate how to use the water. The right hand, once, twice, 3 times. And again. And pass it on. Om Ajnana Timerhandasya Janana Jana Salakya Shakshu Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Hare Krishna. Apovitra Pavitrava Sarva Vastam Gato Api Va Ja Smaret Pundari Kaksam Sa Vanya Abhyam Taram Suchi. Shri Vishnu Shri Vishnu Shri Vishnu. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Apovitra Pavitrava Sarva Vastam Gato Api Va Ja Smaret Pundari Kaksam Sa Vaya Abhyam Taram Suchi. Shri Vishnu Shri Vishnu Shri Vishnu. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Apovitra, Povitrava, Sarvam, Vastam, Gato, Api, Va, Ja, Smarit, Kundari, Kaksam, Sa, Vaya, Abhyam, Taram, Suchi, Shri Vishnu, Shri Vishnu, Shri Vishnu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram.
This prayer, Apovitra Pavitrava Sarvavastam Gato Api Vajasmarat Punari Kaksam Sahaya Abhyam Taram Suchi, means unpurified or purified, or even having passed through all situations. One who remembers the lotus-eyed Supreme Personality of Godhead is cleansed without and within. Srila Rupa Goswami Prabhupada warns us not to go near the banks of the Jumuna. If we at all want to remain enamored of our family attachments and of our friends and of our different worldly attachments, because by that bank of the Jumuna, Lord Krishna is there, playing his flute so nicely, his heavenly blue tinged body with its lotus garland. So Rupa Goswami Prabhupada is warning us, don't go near the Jumuna, because if you do, Krishna will steal your heart. So this, today, we were having a threefold transcendental event. Initiations into the Hare Krishna mantra, the Maha Mantra, and second initiations of the Brahmanas into the Brahminical status of life, and to the renounced order of life, Sannyas. These are the three different stages that we progress through in the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, from Brahmachari and Brahmacharini and to Grihastha life, and then to a renounced order of life, Sannyas. So it's a question of renunciation. In the Hare Krishna mantra initiation, it is simply required that one give up one's material miseries and engage oneself happily and joyfully in the execution of duties and service to our spiritual master, chanting, dancing, and other ways being happily situated in transcendental life. There are 4 requirements, 4 principles of morality. Without these principles of morality, no man can be religious. These 4 principles must be followed. Otherwise, a man cannot call himself a religious person. He must not engage in any illicit sex gratification, no sex relationships outside of marriage. And he must avoid intoxicants, including coffee, tea, or cigarettes. And he must not eat meat, fish, or eggs. And he must not gamble. If a man can successfully execute these regulated principles, then he can become a religious person. And it's very easy, because the principle of Krishna consciousness is positive renunciation. This is a very important point to understand. Simply by chanting Hare Krishna, one develops a higher taste, wherein he loses his propensity and attraction for these lower things. If someone says, oh, why don't you eat meat? We can answer, I don't care for it. Not that I'm not allowed to. No, that is negative renunciation. No, I don't care for it, because everything I'm doing is in relationship to Krishna. Those things, I care for those things only. So, these regulative principles must be practiced. And if they are practiced nicely, and we're chanting 16 rounds, then in due course we come to the realization, Aham Brahmasmi, I am pure spirit soul. I am not this body, and I am not these bodily designations that so many people have foisted upon me, my family and friends, my country, this, that. We should think, I am Krishna's. I am Krishna's. I'm not Russian, I'm not Hindu, I'm simply Krishna's. And this is beyond the impersonal conception. This is beyond knowing that I'm simply pure spirit soul. This knowing how to act. Everyone must act. This is made clear in the Bhagavad Gita that no man can refrain from activity. But the activity that we do, how we act, this is the important point of human life. Regarding renunciation, Rupa Goswami Prabhupada made it clear that to give up things in this material world that belong to God, to Krishna, even though they are material, is not full renunciation. Actually, it is simply an avoidance of our eternal position to Krishna, to give up those things and cast them aside, those things which belong to his lordship. Rather, we should use everything in Krishna's service. Renunciation means to renounce sense gratification. That's all. Simply give up using things for my own personal sense gratification. A renegade servant in the material world, lording it against the will of the Lord. It is said that one in the house of the master who starts imitating the master is called illusioned. So as long as we remain illusioned, then we'll try to use what is Krishna's for ourselves and remain simply thieves, renegade servants from Krishna. So the idea is not to give up things. This society is not a society of renunciates. We are not asking new initiates to become inactive, to retreat from the material world. No, the Vaishnava is concerned with other fallen souls like himself, because as he sees the light, he begins to understand his obligation. This philosophy, this Vaishnava philosophy, cannot be defeated. Nowhere can it be defeated. We can learn the philosophy very nicely and defeat everyone, but argument is not our purpose. Although we wish to convince everyone, simply chant Hare Krishna and be happy. This is our persuasion that we want. We want to convince everyone. We don't care about arguing. Our philosophy cannot be beaten. That is not the point. We do not feel superior. Rather, we realize because we have this transcendental knowledge that we are everyone's servants, that our obligation is to give this information to everyone who does not have it. That is our obligation. Not that we sit in our temples and chant Hare Krishna for our own realization. This we can do. This we can do. That is something. But that is considered inferior to going out and preaching actively. So, those of you who are entering now into brahmachari and brahmacharini life, for certain, because now the connection is being established by our spiritual master. Heretofore, the connection was not definitely established. Now the contract is drawn and about to be signed, and it will never be broken by the Supreme Lord, nor Srila Prabhupada. It is our simple obligation to keep our end of the bargain, and always to remember our obligation to the Supreme Lord and to Srila Prabhupada. Simply to engage in Krishna conscious activities. Simply practice bhakti yoga and set by example for the whole world. So brahmacharini, this requires sense control. We should understand we have to control these senses from engaging in nonsense activities. They can be controlled easily by chanting Hare Krishna and our other activities, but we must be conscious that we have to control these things. Formally and ideally, brahmacharis remained brahmacharis for some time, until they were in their early 20s. And because they were able to remain brahmachari like that, they were very strong, very strong. And this assured that the firstborn would be a son. This was the practice. The brahmachari life was very strict, and there were very many restrictions on sense gratification. So, in this age, because we are not able to perform these activities, these austerities so nicely, it's been granted to us that we can become grihastas. We can become married, and we can have children and raise them in Krishna consciousness. And then at a certain age, after our children are grown and everyone is provided for, then we can take sannyas. But the point to remember about all of these stages, actually, is that all of them are sannyas. Sannyas means to give up sense gratification. Simply to give it up for the higher taste of Krishna consciousness. To realize that my happiness can only be there if the Lord is happy. To be more concerned about Krishna's satisfaction than my own. More concerned about my spiritual master's satisfaction than my own. This is advancement. This is Krishna consciousness. So, simple renunciation will not suffice. When Ramananda Roy and Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu were having a discussion, Ramananda Roy suggested to give up the fruits of one's activities. Ramananda Roy rejected that proposal because there must be spiritual variegatedness. The impersonal conception is simply to give up all kinds of variety out of frustration and to start thinking that I can become God in lieu of service to God. But there are spiritual varieties that must be revealed through devotional service with the guidance of the pure devotee. So this spiritual variegatedness is revealed how? When Ramananda Roy proposed that one study and preach the Srimad Bhagavatam, this Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accepted as the very important. So, our sannyasis, they are a little advanced. There are 4 different stages of sannyasi. But the second stage of sannyasi is parvajakacharya. This means to travel and to preach the glories of the Lord, as Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has exemplified and as our spiritual master has exemplified. Simply travel and preach, depending on Krishna for all material arrangements. Not worrying much about my bodily care, not worrying much about foodstuffs, not worrying much about my shelter. Simply worrying about how to preach, mad after preaching, reaching as many people as possible, distributing literatures, traveling, distributing prasadam, so many things. This is parvajakacharya, because our sannyasis, they can begin there. And then there is Paramahamsa stage. When one becomes a little advanced and purified by this process, he can take some disciples like that and help this family of the holy name grow all over the world. We must have spiritual children. In order to do that, we must be potent and pure. We must push on this movement purely so that our offspring, our spiritual children, will be strong and grow up and be better preachers and travel further than we. So, these different orders of life and spiritual ashrama are there, and different orders of sannyasa are there. But the main point to remember is, what is renunciation? Renunciation, one can have a nice family, nice wife, nice son, one can have a nice arrangement, but not to be attached. Non-attachment. That doesn't mean to ignore, not to meet one's duty or responsibilities, but not to be attached. To maintain the family members, to advance together in Krishna consciousness. But not for my own sense gratification, not that I become, with advancement, more interested in family life and then try to fall down. No, that is not the point. Our grihastas will remain strong, our sannyasis will remain strong, and our brahmacharis will be trained up for responsibilities. So, essentially, this renunciation involves controlling the mind, purifying the mind and the senses. The mind is simply accepting or rejecting. We have to dovetail that process. Oh, I accept what is good for advancing in Krishna consciousness, and I reject that which is not good for advancing in Krishna consciousness. So that's the way we will dovetail and purify our mind. And we will think and we will accept and reject in relationship to Krishna, because the mind, according to the Bhagavad Gita, can be a source of bondage or liberation, depending on how we use that mind. And the mind's ego must be purified, because the mind's ego is thinking I am this body. And by chanting we realize I am a devotee, I am servant of Srila Prabhupada, I am servant of Krishna. So there's direct service and indirect service. And the impersonalist and the yogi, they want to avoid direct service. After all, suppose you're a yogi and you can achieve the highest perfectional yoga, that you can contradict the laws of material nature. This is a tremendous thing. This is very tempting. This is a final lording it over the material nature, but it is not devotional service. So we can avoid these processes. It is said that one who chants Hare Krishna nicely has passed the tests of developing fruitive activities and mental speculation, and he's also passed the yoga trials also. Excuse me. So these things are already included in taking initiation in the Hare Krishna mantra. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita that only by undivided devotional service can I be understood as I am, standing here before you. And thus can I be seen directly. Only in this way can you enter into the mysteries of my understanding. Thus can I be seen directly, Krishna says. So this is the direct process. Direct process. Krishna and his name are identical. So directly, immediately we are contacting Krishna. Immediately we transferred to spiritual platform. Not that we chant Hare Krishna and atone for our past sins and then go about doing nonsense, but we keep chanting Hare Krishna. And we become purified. We become Goswami, master of the senses. Not Godasa, one who is controlled by the senses. We become Goswami. And that Goswami is the final stage of sannyas. And that means one is perfectly controlled. He has no material desires whatsoever. If we have as much desire as for one little piece of candy, we will remain in this material world and come back again. So we must purify all our desires, not destroy. Have desires for Krishna, in Krishna's name, for Krishna's sake, in Krishna's service. Not for my own first, but my own will come automatically by taking the prasadam, by taking the remnants, simply by serving Krishna first. So, we must remain non-attached. And that way we can become Goswami, controller of the senses, instead of controlled by the senses. In this world, the arrangement is now made that everyone is walking around the street. The senses are dragging their mind, the mind is dragging the intellect, and the intellect is dragging the whole body, and the intellect is dragging the spirit soul here, this way, that way, this way, that way. The whole thing is backwards. The senses control the mind controls the intelligence, and the intelligence, being misused, is dragging the spirit soul and his material body all over the universe, all for seeking so much pleasure. But we must reverse that. Krishna consciousness begins from the platform of buddhi, intelligence. Krishna says in the 61st verse of the second chapter, one who restrains his senses and fixes his consciousness upon me is known as a man of steady intelligence. So, by intelligence we can make advancement. What is the intelligent thing to do? Take shelter of the spiritual master and listen to the spiritual master. And then we can control our minds and our senses. And we can use the body as it is intended in Krishna's service. So in the Bhagavad Gita, it explains verses 4 and 7 through 7 in Karma Yoga. Not by merely abstaining from work can one achieve freedom from reaction, nor by renunciation alone can one attain perfection. All men are forced to act helplessly, according to the impulses born of the modes of material nature. Therefore nobody can refrain from doing something, not even for a moment. One who restrains the senses and organs of action, but whose mind dwells on sense objects, certainly deludes himself and is called a pretender. But on the other hand, he who controls the senses by the mind and engages his active organs in works of devotion without attachment is by far superior. So Arjuna posed a similar question that Maharaj Pariksit posed to Sukadeva Goswami. That how is it that we're going to stop this after we atone, that we go and we commit some more sinful activities as if driven by impulse? What is this factor that is driving us on? And the answer is by association with the material modes. So therefore, the spiritual solution is to associate with the pure devotees. And in that way, one can conquer over these three modes of material nature. The principle of association is there, just like the crystal stone will reflect whatever is put in front of it so nicely. And it is said that if the husband is potent and the wife is healthy, there will be a conception, there will be offspring. So, if the spiritual master is bona fide and the disciple is bona fide, and there's Sravanam Kirtanam, there is chanting and there's hearing and there is receiving and service, then by that association one can become purified. So non-attachment means to do everything on Krishna's behalf. It is a very, very simple formula that everyone can follow in this age. Simply by reading the Srimad Bhagavatam and by chanting Hare Krishna. This is the beginning process, and by reading other scriptures. and then following the spiritual master's orders. In the chapter 12 entitled Devotional Service, Arjuna asks Krishna, he inquires, of those who are properly engaged in your devotional service and those who are engaged by the impersonal Brahman, the unmanifested, which is considered to be more perfect? And the Supreme Personality of Godhead answered that one who has fixed his mind upon my personal form, always engaged in devotional service with great and transcendental faith, is considered by me to be most perfect. And a little later on, in that same chapter, in the 9th verse, Krishna says, if you cannot fix your mind upon me without deviation, then engage yourself in the practice of bhakti yoga principles. And in that way, you will develop a desire to attain to me. So we're all practicing the principles of bhakti yoga. And by practicing the principles of bhakti yoga, we become more Krishna conscious. And we develop our love of God. In order to chant nicely, whether one is sannyas, grihastha, whatever his spiritual designation, one has to follow these, be careful to avoid the list of offenses. You have this list before you, and they should be paid very careful attention to throughout your spiritual life. The first one is blaspheming a Lord's devotee. Must be very careful. This may seem a very difficult one to commit, but we must be very careful not to blaspheme the Lord's devotee and his disciples also. Srila Prabhupada's disciples should be treated with some respect because they're trying to do a very important job to bring Krishna consciousness back to the people on this earth planet. And they have simply forgotten Krishna. And our business is simply to remind them of Krishna by our appearance, by our deeds, words, actions, in every way. So a devotee should be cooperated with. He should not be blasphemed. And 2, considering the Lord and the demigods on the same level, or to understand that there are many gods. No, there is one God. God is one. God is already God. There's no question of meditating and becoming God. He is already God. Simply a question of yoga, bhakti yoga, connecting with him in devotion. The demigods are simply spirit souls like us that are delegated to control different aspects of the universe. Their power comes from Krishna. Just like the ocean is an extension of Varuna, Varuna's body. He's able, just like we go like this and we can feel, we know, he's able to do the same thing. Everything is so personal, but we're so much impersonal. Everything is governed by intelligence. This intelligence means personality. How can we conclude otherwise? And the biggest personality, the Supreme Personality, is Krishna. So by serving Krishna, all his servants become pleased. It's not that the servant who lives in the house of the master lives like a pauper. No, the servant in the house of the master has nice clothing, has nice prasadam, he has a nice arrangement for shelter. He is practically on the level of the master. 3, neglecting the orders of the spiritual master. Well, this is foolhardy. For one who's taking initiation must be very careful and must already know in advance that the only way he can make advancement is to follow the orders of the spiritual master. 4, minimizing the authority of the scriptures or Vedas. The spiritual master never deviates from the Vedas because the Vedas are the absolute truth given by Krishna himself. So one can understand that if I do not understand the Veda or the scripture, it is because of my defect. It is that the scripture is already perfect. It is simply a question of my understanding. And in due time, what is in the scriptures will be revealed to me by practical devotional service. This is the way to think. 5, interpreting the holy name of God. There is no name, no reason to interpret. One can chant Hare Krishna without even knowing what the words mean and achieve benefit, so much benefit, without even knowing what Hare Krishna. The explanation is there. Hare, all Krishna's energy, also addressing Radha, another name of Radha is Hara. So Hare addressing Radharani, who's in charge of devotional service, because she can obtain the compassion of Krishna for us. So we say Hare. Krishna. Krishna is Krishna. Krishna and Krishna are identical. This is the perfection of our devotional service, to realize that Krishna and his name are the same. And Rama, another name for Krishna. Krishna has many names, and they're all covered in this one mantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. All names and all pastimes are there, including Om. Everything is there. 6, to commit sins on the strength of chanting. This is a popular fad of the day, to go and commit more sins after atoning, after confessing, after being shameful, and after realizing that one's committed some nasty thing. But then they go ahead and do it again. The way to cure that is to destroy the desire seed for committing sinful activities, and that is simply by chanting. Any other process of atonement or purification will not work because the desire will keep returning, and a person will again do the same things over and over again, unless that propensity is itself finished. The only way that can be finished is by this process of bhakti yoga, by chanting Hare Krishna and engaging in these principles. Then that whole propensity to commit sinful activities will be finished for good. There is no other way, no other process. 7, instructing the glories of the Lord's name to the unfaithful. We do not care to argue with atheists. We do not care to argue with an intoxicated person. Rather, we will approach them and nicely ask them to say Hare Krishna. And if there is some resistance, we do not have to stay and argue and fight with them. The devotee sees that there are 4 different classifications of reality. Krishna, his devotees, the innocent, those who don't know about Krishna, and the atheist. And mostly he is preaching to the innocent person. And the atheist, he is also sought after. But in order for a person to make advancement, as Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taught, Jaghai and Madhai, they must give up their sinful activities. They must give up those intoxications and illicit sex gratification, those things which are required to make advancement. They must first become at least moral men. And if they can do that, then they can be accepted into the family of the holy name. And everyone today is Jaghai and Madhai. So we are all certainly qualified to join this family. But we have to qualify ourselves by following some simple rules and regulations. 8. Comprising, or rather comparing the holy name with material piety. No amount of religious activity, no amount of impersonal prayer in a church or a mosque or a temple without the deity, no amount of these things will bring us to the point of love of God. If they're executed perfectly, we can come to the point of executing devotional service if we become perfect in our practice. But today, the first commandment of the Bible is, thou shalt not kill. In order to be a Christian, one has to follow the 10 Commandments. So who can follow that first commandment? Thou shalt not kill. So many things, so many animals are being killed for the taste, for the palate. It is not required. Sure, we kill vegetables also. The point is that the vegetables and the fruits and the grains are allotted to us by Krishna for our eating, and the milk from the cow, and there's no need to kill the cow to get the milk any more than to kill the tree to get an apple. But because of the palate, we do these things. We commit these sinful activities, and then we wonder why there is Vietnam, why there is earthquake, why there is this kind of reaction, why there is that kind of reaction. We must give up our attachment. We must raise our taste to the spiritual platform by engaging in this higher taste of Krishna consciousness. As young people, it devolves upon us to do this thing, because the older we get, the more conditioned we get. Now is the time, in the human form of life, as stated by the Vedanta Sutra, and now is the time, while we're young, to understand with our intelligence what is this movement, and to join and to push on it. So, Krishna consciousness is the postgraduate study of religion. It includes all the goals of religion. One who understands the purpose of the Veda engages in this Krishna consciousness. 9. To become inattentive while chanting the holy name. Shravanam, Kirtanam, hearing and chanting. One has to hear nicely, and if he hears nicely, then he can speak nicely. But we must practice hearing. So many times this chanting, it's not so nice. It's slurred, it's unclear. No, we're not trying to be fast. We want to hear, and we should worship the holy name when we utter it. We should worship the holy name. So we should be attentive, because it's Krishna, the Supreme Person we're addressing, no one less. So we should be conscious of that holy name on our lips and hear as carefully as we can. 10. Attachment to material things in spite of chanting the holy name. With a little advancement, we're expected not to keep making mistakes. But if a person falls down from chanting the holy name, what is the process of rectification? No purificatory processes there, no special rituals, no return to the Vedas like that. Simply continuing once again, chanting nicely. That is the way that we can rectify ourselves. But we should avoid all fall downs. We should realize that eating, sleeping, and mating and defending are the demands of the body and not the soul. The soul does not require to eat, sleep, mate, and defend. So therefore we must minimize these things by taking prasadam and controlling our senses and so on. So if we're able to understand the basic principle of this philosophy, there's no question of continuing to be attached to our material miseries. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Please repeat each prayer after me. Bande Aham Shri Guru Shri Yata Parakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishna Ramcha Shri Rupam Sagra Jatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajevam Sad Vetam Sad Varhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishaka Nitamscha Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namane Namaste Saraswati Devo Gurvani Pacharane Nivesesa Sunyavari Paschata Desitarane Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Iti Namane Shri Varsha Bhanavi Devi Dai Itaya Kripab Daye Krishna Sambandha Vijnana Dayane Prabhube Namaha Madhurya Ujjala Premadya Shri Rupanuga Bhaktida Shri Gora Karuna Shakti Vigra Haya Namo Astute Namaste Gora Bani Shri Mataye Dina Tarne Rupa Anuga Darudha Apa Siddhanta Danta Harane Namo Gora Kisharaya Sakshad Varagya Mataye Vipra Lamba Rasam Bodhe Padam Bujaya Te Namaha Namo Bhakti Vinodaya Sachida Ananda Namane Gora Sakti Svarupaya Rupa Anuga Bara Yate Gora Virbhava Bhume Stam Nirdeshta Sajana Priya Vaishnava Sarva Bhuma Shri Jaga Nataya Te Namaha Namo Vancha Kalpa Taru Bhascha Kripa Sindhu Vaye Bacha Pati Tanam Pava Nebyo Vaishnave Beyo Namo Namaha Namo Maha Varanaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namane Gaurag Vishe Namaha Pancha Tattva Atmakam Krishnam Bhakta Rupa Svarupakam Bhakta Avataram Bhakta Kayam Namami Bhakta Saktikam. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dena Bandhu Jagat Pate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namo Astute Jayatam Sirato Pangam Mama Manda Mate Grati Mat Sarvava Sva Padam Vajo Radha Madhana Mohano Divyad Vrinda Ranya Kalpa Drumadaha Srimad Ratna Gara Simha Sansto Shri Shri Radha Srila Govinda Devo Krista Dibihi Sevya Mano Smarami Shriman Rasa Rambi Vamsi Vatata Stihan Shitan Karshan Venum Banai Gopi Nata Sriye Hastu Na Tapta Kanchana Gorange Radhe Brinda Bane Spari Vrishna Banu Sute Devi Pranam Ami Hari Priye. Hare Krishna.
So, change your cloth. You help it. You help it. While change. That right. Come on.
Whose beads? Whose beads are these? Please accept the beads with your right hand. Hare Krishna.
Come on.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Narayan Das. You know the rules and regulations? Then tell me. Hare Krishna, come on. Hare Krishna. This DT photograph? Huh? Pampadas. Pampa is the sacred river. Flow with Krishna consciousness. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Madhupuri. Madhupuri is Mathura, Krishna's birthplace. So you have to serve Mathura and be associated with Radharani. You know the rules and regulations. What are they? No gambling. She is not married. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Ram, Ram, Ram. Varanasi Dasi. Varanasi is the sacred conjunction of two rivers, Varuni and Osi. Varuni is Ganges and Osi. So a combination of two sacred rivers flowing from the lotus toe of Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Prayag. Prayagdasi. Prayag is the chief holy place in India where we held our, there is Allahabad, there is Prayag, another name is Prayag, there is real name is Prayag. Tirtharaj, the king of pilgrimage. So you have to serve, come on. You know the rules and regulations? Next. Go on. Ram, 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 Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Ram, 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 Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Ram, 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 Hare Krishna, Ram. Sitaram, Raghupati Raghavas, Lord Ramchandra, husband of Sita. You are servant of Sitaram, very high position. Come on, Hare Krishna. You know the rules and regulations. All right. Thank you. Next. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Ram, 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 Hare Krishna. Huh? Pushpaban. Yes, Pushpavan. Pushpavan is the name of Cupid. He throws the arrow of flower. And Krishna is the supreme Cupid. You know the rules and regulations? Yeah. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Ram, Ram, Ram. Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhava Gokula Tarini Manjana. Pushkar. There is a sacred lake in India, Pushkar Tirtha. Pushkar Tirtha. So anyone who takes bath in that lake, he becomes a devotee. So you try to bring all people of the world to take bath in Pushkar. Ram, Ram, Ram. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, 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 Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Tapas. From tapasya, you have to perform severe austerity. Without severe austerity, nobody can achieve Krishna. Kritapunna punya. After many baths, pious activities and austerity, one can understand Krishna. Manusyanam sahasreshu kaschit jatati siddhaya yatatam api siddhyana. Those who have attained perfection, out of many of them, one can understand Krishna. So, by Lord Chaitanya's grace, we are distributing freely such thing, Krishna. Krishna prema pradayate, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. You know the rules and regulations? Then you come. take this and yes, first of all take this, then take it off. Stand up. This side. What is that mantra? Chant this mantra. Itam samasthaya paratmanishtam upasitam purva tamair maha. Is that properly? Purva tamai mahadbhi aham tarishyami duranta param tamo mukundam angri nishevaiva nisheva eva. Yes. The etang samasthaya paratmanistha. This vow, today you are taking sannyas. So, keeping oneself steady and fixed up in this position, etan samasthaya, paratmanistha. Paratma, the Supreme Lord, Jiva, living entity, is their Atma, and Krishna is Paratma. Paramatma and Paratma. So Paratmanishtham, to serve Krishna. So taking sannyas from this day, my vow to serve Krishna is more fixed up, steady. Upasitam purvatamai mahadbhi. This practice, this process was accepted by my previous acharyas. Your spiritual master, his spiritual master, his spiritual master, they all accepted this. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accepted at the age of 24 years. Therefore, it is not a new introduction. Purvatamai. Purvatamai means previous acharya, they accepted it. Sannyas ashram, that is Vedic civilization. Everyone has to accept sannyas ashram at a certain period, generally at the end. But one who is advanced, he can take sannyas even at young age, just like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took sannyas, Ramanujarya took sannyas very young age. My Guru Maharaj took sannyas at very young age. So it is not that only old men should take sannyas, but there are many instances. Why? Paratmanistha. Etang samasthaya aham tarishyami. I shall cross over. Tarishyami means cross over. Duranta param, which is very difficult to overcome. Tamo, this darkness, this material world is dark. Tamasi ma jyotirgama. Vedic injunction is don't remain in this darkness. Go the other side, jyoti, where there is natad bhasayati surya. There is another nature where there is no need of sun, no need of moon, no need of electricity. There jyoti. Jyoti means effulgent, light, only light. So we have to cross over these ocean of darkness and reach the Jyoti Dham, Jyotirmay Dham, Brahma Jyoti. Tamo Mukundangri. How it will be possible? Mukunda. Mukunda means, muk means mukti or liberation. So one who gives liberation and gives ananda, unless one is liberated, one cannot understand what is ananda or pleasure. Here in the material world, we are trying to be happy by false pleasure. The actual pleasure, Krishna is the reservoir of all pleasure. When we serve Krishna, Mukundangri, Angri means lotus feet, leg. When we appoint ourselves, engage ourselves in the service of the lotus feet of Mukunda, who can deliver liberation and transcendental bliss, Tamo Mukundangri Nisevaiva. Only by serving him I shall be able. This mantra you shall take, copy. Also, Kirtananda Maharaj, you can read this portion and no, only that portion.
There is another sect who are known as the Sannyas sect. They misunderstand the purpose of free danda, and by such deviation,
This danda, there are 4 sticks. One stick is representing the jiva soul. Another stick is representing body. Another stick is mind. And another stick, speech. Kaya mona vakya. So the jiva engages himself with his body, mind and words for preaching one. Gone. So there is another sect of sannyasi, Mayavad sannyasi, they take one stick, eka.
they misunderstand the purpose of free danda, and by such deviation, Srila Swami Sannyas claims belong to the Vishnu Swami sect, earn to be new persons and follow the footsteps of Srila Prabhupada. Instead of handing themselves out of the 108 names of Vaishnava sannyasis, the Srila Swami sect accepts 10 names of sannyasis following the path of Christ. Lord Chaitanya, although in terms of the Zen practice,
Shiva Swami. What is that?
SIVA,
Shiva Swami. All right.
accepted Ekadandi sannyas order, but his acceptance of Tridandi sannyas is understood. This mantra was first chanted by a learned Brahman of Avantapur after being very much disgusted in this materialistic way of life. This happened long, long ago because it is mentioned in the Bhagavatam, composed by Vyasa at least 5,000 years ago. So this is concluded, therefore, that this Tridandi sannyas order
The Ekadandi sannyasi and Mahavadi sannyasi, they think that accepting sannyas, they become one with Narayan or the Supreme Lord. But our process is different. Our process is that we give up everything, material, and simply engage ourselves in Krishna's service with body, mind, and speeches, and as I am soul. This is the difference. So we should not mix up this Ekadandi sannyasi and Tridandi sannyasi.
They have no inclination to render service unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Being very much disgusted by the materialistic way of life, they do not understand the purpose of the sannyas order. But those who are strictly followers of the Vaishnava principles, they do not accept the Mayavadi way of sannyas. In the sect of Lord Chaitanya, the most venerable learned scholar known as Vidar Bhaktivinoda Goswami accepted the Siddhanta sannyas order. He offered this facility to his disciple known as Srimati Aya. This Madhyacharya is the origin of the Bhattacharya sect. One of the six Goswamis was the father of the authority of the Islamic Judaism was initiated by another Vedanta Swami known as Parvatanaja Saraswati. Therefore, the sannyas order is completely in the pursuit of Vaishnava order.
But so you will get a copy of this. So from this day, your only business is to preach and collect alms for Krishna. Give me that mango. So I will give you first of all. Take this flower. And where is your... Here. Give him the flower garland.
All glories to you, Srila Prabhupada.
Huh? What is that? All right. Oh. Chant Govindamadi.
Glory to Srila Prabhupada. Glory to Srila